In February 2015, a small town in Vermont was shocked. A man had died. He was 92 years old. He had worked as a janitor for most of his life. Before that, he pumped gas at a local service station. He drove a used Toyota. He pinned his coat together with safety pins because he didn't want to spend money on a new one. His name was Ronald Read, and when his will was read, the town couldn't believe what they found. Ronald Read had left $1.2 million to his local library and $4.8 million to his local hospital. He had died with a net worth of over $8 million. $8 million from a janitor's salary. No inheritance, no lottery, no business, no lucky stock tip. Just a strategy so simple that almost nobody takes it seriously. And yet it turned a man who earned minimum wage into one of the wealthiest people in his town, without anyone knowing. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what Ronald Read did, the specific strategy he used, the math behind it, and most importantly, what you can do starting today, with whatever money you have, to follow the same path. Because what Ronald knew is something almost nobody teaches you. Let's get into it. Ronald James Read was born on October 23, 1921, in Dummerston, Vermont. He grew up poor. During the Great Depression, his family had almost nothing. He was the first person in his family to go to high school, and he walked 4 miles each way to get there every single day. After serving in World War II, Ronald came home and got a job at a service station. He pumped gas. He changed tires. He worked there for 25 years. After that, he became a janitor at JCPenney. He cleaned floors, he emptied bins, he worked quietly and without complaint. To everyone around him, Ronald was just a regular guy, a nice man, friendly, unassuming. He lived in a modest house. He chopped his own firewood to save on heating bills. He parked far away from his destination to avoid parking fees. His second wife, who he married in 1960, didn't even know about his investments until after he died. Nobody did. Ronald didn't talk about money. He didn't show off. He didn't try to impress anyone. He just quietly, consistently, did one thing for over 50 years, and that one thing turned his janitor's salary into $8 million. Now here's the part that most people miss when they hear this story. They say, well, that was a different time. Things were cheaper. The market was different. They're wrong. Ronald's strategy works in any market, in any decade, at any income level. Because it's not about timing the market. It's not about picking the right stocks. It's not about having a high salary. It's about one principle that the wealthy have always known, and that the rest of us were never taught in school. Time plus consistency beats everything else. That's it. That's the entire secret. But let's go deeper, because understanding what Ronald actually did and how he did it changes the way you think about money forever. So what did Ronald actually do? When investigators went through his estate after his death, they found something unexpected. Not a savings account, not a pile of cash under the mattress. They found a portfolio of over 95 individual stocks, blue-chip companies, household names, companies like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, JP Morgan, Colgate, companies that pay dividends, consistently, year after year. Ronald had been buying these stocks quietly for decades, small amounts at a time, reinvesting every dividend he received, never selling. He kept his stock certificates in a safe deposit box at his local bank. His estate was so large that when his lawyer went through everything, it took a long time just to locate all of his holdings. But here's what's remarkable. Ronald Read didn't have a financial advisor. He didn't use a fancy trading platform. He didn't have an MBA. He didn't read Bloomberg or watch CNBC. According to people who knew him, he read the Wall Street Journal every morning at his local library, for free. He looked for companies with long track records of paying dividends, companies that made products people would always need, companies that would still be around in 20, 30, 40 years, and then he bought them and held them and never panicked. When the market crashed in 2008, Ronald didn't sell. When the dot-com bubble burst in 2001, Ronald didn't sell. When interest rates spiked and stocks fell, Ronald didn't sell. He just kept buying, slowly, consistently, for over 5 decades. This is the part that most people intellectually understand but emotionally can't execute. Because when the market drops 30%, it feels like the world is ending. Your portfolio is down. The news is terrifying. Everyone is selling. And Ronald Read sat in his modest house, chopped his firewood, and bought more. That psychological discipline, the ability to stay calm when everyone else is panicking, is worth more than any financial strategy ever devised. Warren Buffett has said the same thing in different words. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Ronald Read was the most patient man in Vermont. and patience made him $8 million. Now I want to show you something important, because you don't need to buy individual stocks like Ronald did. In fact, for most people today, there's a better and simpler way to follow his exact strategy, with less risk and less research required. Let me show you. Ronald's strategy had 3 core elements, and each one of them is available to you right now, regardless of your income, your age, or how much you know about investing. Element 1. He bought companies that produce things people always need, not tech startups, not meme stocks, not the next big thing. Johnson & Johnson makes healthcare products. Procter & Gamble makes cleaning supplies and personal care products. Colgate makes toothpaste. People bought these products in 1960. They bought them in 1990. They're buying them today, and they'll be buying them in 2050. These companies don't just survive recessions, they often grow through them. Because no matter how bad the economy gets, people still brush their teeth. The modern equivalent of this strategy is a dividend ETF. SCHD, the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF, holds exactly this type of company. Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, Verizon, Lockheed Martin, companies with decades of consistent dividend payments, companies that share their profits with you every single quarter. You don't need to research 95 individual stocks like Ronald did. You buy one fund, and that fund does the work. Element 2, he reinvested every single dividend. This is the most underestimated part of Ronald's strategy. When a company pays you a dividend, you have 2 choices. You can take the cash, or you can use it to buy more shares. Ronald always bought more shares. Here's why this matters. If you own 100 shares of a company and it pays a 3% dividend, you get cash. Fine. But if you reinvest that dividend, you now own 103 shares. Next quarter, those 103 shares produce more dividends than 100 shares would have. You reinvest again. Now you own 106 shares. And this process, compounding, accelerates over time. In the first decade, it feels slow, almost invisible. In the second decade, it starts to build. By the third, fourth, and fifth decade, it becomes unstoppable. Ronald invested for over 50 years. By the end, the compounding effect on his portfolio was generating more money per year than most people earn in a salary. Element 3, he never sold out of panic. This sounds simple. It is not. Between 1960 and 2014, the stock market experienced multiple major crashes. Each one felt permanent. Each one recovered. The people who sold during those crashes locked in their losses forever. Ronald Read didn't sell. Ever. This is the hardest part of the strategy. Not intellectually, but emotionally. Because when your portfolio drops $50,000 in a week, every instinct in your body says sell, get out, protect what's left. Ronald ignored that instinct. Every time. And every time, the market recovered, and his portfolio grew larger than before. Now here's the thing. You don't need 50 years, and you don't need to start with a janitor's salary. Even starting at 30, with $500 a month, following Ronald's exact principles. The numbers are extraordinary. Let me show you the math. Let's talk numbers, because this is where most people's minds change. Ronald Read worked for decades on a modest salary. Let's say he invested an average of $300 a month, which is a conservative estimate for someone living as frugally as he did. $300 a month for 50 years, at a 10% average annual return, which is roughly the historical average of the U.S. stock market. The result? Over $3,800,000 from $300 a month. And that doesn't even account for dividend reinvestment, which accelerates compounding significantly, which is why Ronald ended up with $8 million rather than $3.8 million. Now let's make this personal. What if you started today, right now, with whatever you have? Scenario 1. You're 25 years old. You invest $200 a month until you're 65. At 10% annual return, you end up with $162,000, over $1 million, from $200 a month, starting at 25. Scenario 2, you're 30 years old, same $200 a month, same return, but you start 5 years later, you end up with $637,000. Same money, same discipline, but starting 5 years later cost you $425,000. $425,000 gone because of 5 years of waiting. Scenario 3, you're 35 years old, $500 a month, you want to catch up. At 10% return over 30 years, you end up with $986,000. Still nearly $1 million, still life-changing. The point is not that you need to be 25. The point is that starting now, today, is always better than starting tomorrow. Because every month you wait is compounding working against you instead of for you. Now let's look at what adding dividend reinvestment does. If you invest $300 a month into SCHD, which currently yields around 3.5% in dividends annually, and you reinvest every single dividend, your effective return over time is significantly higher than a non-dividend fund. Over 30 years, the difference between reinvesting and not reinvesting dividends on a $300 a month investment is often hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ronald Read understood this instinctively. He didn't have a calculator. He didn't run spreadsheets. He just knew that every dollar reinvested was a dollar working for him, compounding, growing, multiplying, and he let it run for 50 years. The number that came out the other end, $8 million, wasn't luck. It was math. The same math that's available to every single person watching this video. The only question is whether you start today or wait until tomorrow. And as Ronald Read's story shows us, waiting has a price. Every single day. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with 5 lessons from Ronald Read's life. Not theories, not abstract advice. 5 concrete things he did that you can start doing immediately. Lesson 1. Live below your means, always. Ronald earned a modest income his entire life, but he spent even less than he earned, every month, without exception. This isn't about being cheap. It's about creating a gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is your investment capital. Most people spend everything they earn, and then some. Ronald spent a fraction of what he earned and invested the rest. The size of that gap determines how fast your wealth grows. Lesson 2. Invest in businesses that sell what people always need. Ronald didn't chase trends. He didn't buy the hottest stock of the year. He bought companies that sold soap, medicine, and cleaning products. Boring, stable, essential. In a world obsessed with the next big thing, boring wins. Every time. The modern equivalent, VTI and SCHD, the entire US market and the strongest dividend-paying companies in one country, boring funds, extraordinary results. Lesson 3. Reinvest everything. Every dollar Ronald received in dividends went straight back into the market, not into a holiday, not into a new car, back into stocks. This single habit, automatic dividend reinvestment, is responsible for a significant portion of his $8 million. Set up automatic reinvestment on your brokerage account. 1 click. And then forget about it. Lesson 4. Never panic sell. The market will crash. It always does. And it always recovers. It always has. The people who panic and sell lock in their losses permanently. The people who hold, or better yet, buy more, come out ahead every single time. Ronald Read lived through more market crashes than most people alive today. He never sold. His portfolio is the proof. Lesson 5. Start now. Not when you have more money. Not when the market looks better. Not next month. Now. Ronald didn't start with a lump sum. He started small, consistently, and he never stopped. The most important investment you will ever make is your first one, because it starts the clock on compounding. Every day you wait is a day compounding works against you. Ronald Read understood this at a time when financial education was almost non-existent. You have access to everything he learned, and more, right now. The question is what you do with it. Ronald Read never asked for recognition. He never wrote a book. He never gave interviews. He never tried to teach anyone his method. He just lived it. Quietly, consistently, for 92 years. And when he was gone, his numbers spoke for him. $8 million from a janitor's salary, built one patient investment at a time. The system he used is available to you right now. Open a brokerage account. I've linked Fidelity and M1 Finance in the description. Both are free to open. No minimum balance required. Put 70% into VTI. Put 30% into SCHD. Set up automatic monthly contributions. Whatever you can afford. Enable automatic dividend reinvestment. And then, leave it alone. Check it once a quarter if you must. But don't watch it every day. Don't panic when it drops. Don't celebrate when it spikes. Just let it grow. The way Ronald did. Because the greatest wealth-building tool in history isn't a stock tip or a secret strategy. It's time, and consistency, and the patience to let both work. Ronald Read knew that. Now you do too. Subscribe for a new video every week. And if you want to go deeper on the exact ETFs to build this portfolio, that video is linked in the top right corner. I'll see you there.